Hello everybody. It's been a hell of a week. I'm Angelo. I am a filmmaker in Los Angeles, homeless for 8 months, and I've been working 12-hour days on set on a movie here in LA. It's great. It's a roller coaster ride. I swear, my sleep problems I talked about in my previous video mean that I get so tired. I'm a little sick too. That's why I might clear my throat a little bit. Sorry. Even 7 hours of sleep that I was getting, and now that I've started getting up at 6 a.m. every day, I can't make myself sleep longer. Today I kind of did because we're not shooting today. But, and I'm at the Hansen Dam. Check it out. Let's put my gloves on. Even getting 7 hours of sleep means by lunchtime, I'm ready to fall asleep. I am dying to fall asleep wherever I am, and I have been falling asleep on set. Just sit in a chair and just fall asleep. Sometimes we got a couch, fall asleep. Yesterday I didn't. I tried to really be alert because it was a big day. We had a lot of actors on set. It was a big scene, so I wanted to be alert to get everyone's pictures and I'm doing behind the scenes pictures and videography for the social media page for the movie. Putting on my gloves now, and maybe just for people who are interested, I might have something for when the movie comes out, documentary footage. But man, I don't know how I'm going to direct a movie if my ability to stay awake is so hampered, because directors don't get much sleep. So even just being tired and now getting sick, and I'm getting better. Last night I was getting worse, but I took vitamin C, zinc, fish oil pill, trying to eat and drink healthy. I'm already feeling much better. But my mood would just, it was pretty low. Really angry at myself. Waking up today feeling like a failure and a loser just for not having all the pictures done and up and everything, even though that's a lot of work. And I'm homeless, but I wish I didn't have to sleep so much. And just imagining people's judgment, like, I don't have the pictures ready yet. Anyway, so I want to talk about, why did I leave Christianity? Well, there's one simple answer. Christians always love to say it. Jesus Christ. I left. Basically, I had no choice if I was going to save my life. Oh, it's a nice view, but a little hard to see. I'm not trying to look stylish with the sunglasses. It's so bright out. Cool views here. Check that out. And check this out. And I am dressed, what do they say? Dressed to the nines or whatever. My body's sore from being sick and exercising a lot. So I would exercise every day before going to set. That's important to me. Eating too much pizza on set. So why'd I leave Christianity? Making sure I got plenty of time. Not trying to make this too long. Well, I grew up going to Catholic schools. Big waste of time. And Greek Orthodox Church, and even some Methodist church as well. So it's funny realizing how much time it takes to indoctrinate somebody into something that supposedly the most powerful, the all-powerful being in the universe made. Like, why does it take 13 years of schooling just to get a basic level of it down? And if that's what it takes, what do you think of all those Christians from years before who didn't have all that education, who couldn't even read? So which is it? Can anybody be Christian, or do you need the 13 years of education, which sounds unreasonable? And you need breaks for all those pagan holidays and all those satanic worldly pleasures like movies, sports, these pleasures of the flesh. Well, I'm getting ahead of myself, but that's what Christianity teaches. Those are all things that are idolatrous, and the devil put here to lead you away from God. The angels have proclaimed it. But let me just walk through what I always thought of Christianity. Because as a 5-year-old, I didn't know what the fuck it was. How would I know what it was? How could you make kids pray in class? And they can't even understand what they're doing. I didn't understand what right and wrong was. Well, let me correct that. Christianity gave no sense of right or wrong. I was totally lost. It was a moral vacuum. What was right and wrong? The only real sense of right and wrong I had that I had taught myself to suppress was trying just to learn, what feels wrong to me and what hurts me when I treat another person a certain way. I don't like it. I don't like myself. And not wanting to, dominate another person or be cruel to them. And Christianity, on the other hand, it was everything that was not fun, that was bland, that was dour, that was miserable. And so I had grafted onto me this sense that, feeling good is wrong. So to be right, I literally thought I have to make myself feel pain. I didn't do things to try and make myself feel. I just never let myself get any relief to really feel good about anything or myself. Literally sat there in 2nd grade thinking, if I die right now, I'll go to heaven, because all I'm thinking about is, discomfort and pain. Because that's all they teach. So here's another question. Why, if God is so powerful, Christianity is really true, why is it that a child could be so misled and led astray by those teachings incorporated into how I saw the world? Why would God make me that way? So that I would take the teachings, they're right there supposedly, they're not just a bunch of nonsense and gibberish from thousands of years ago, and totally misunderstand it according to the way I was supposed to understand it. So when they would talk about, you're supposed to have a living relationship with the God, I didn't realize I was a deist even then, because I thought, I believe in some God, but I don't believe God's actually active in anything. That's obviously wrong. Evolution, they did teach evolution in our Catholic schools, and about climate change. So even then I thought, God set it all in motion, but then let it go, right? And now it's up to us to decide what to do. So that doesn't make sense. And it was a little bit disturbing to think, it's a living relationship. I'm like, obviously not, right? The God's gone. Did his thing, put everything in motion. But I didn't know I was sort of a deist, but really an atheist, because I even remember talking to an atheist friend online back when AOL chat was new. And he asked, why do I believe in God? No one asked me that. And here's the thing, I had a stupid answer, because I thought, in movies, you always portray someone as wise or righteous by having them talk like you can't comprehend what they're saying. So I said, I just do. I just do. You just don't get it. I just do. Well, he was right. There was no reason for me to believe it. I had no reason. It was something for me to use as an excuse to not really live my life, because that's scary. The idea of freedom and responsibility. How free are any of us, really? We don't know. We have no external frame of reference. But I was going through school and thinking and then it would, this idea that anything that feels good is wrong. And I had these, impulses to want to enjoy life, but thinking, that's wrong, because obviously it's going to be corrected. And along with just my natural reticence to deal with others, I just wanted to be myself. I ran away from school once when I was 5. Dude, the police went looking for me. I didn't make it far because I didn't know really when it was safe to cross the street on my own. That was righteous right there. You don't like something? Just leave. I didn't know I was supposed to feel bad about it. This teacher said, you sit there and think about what you did after you scared us all. I didn't know what I was supposed to think about. But this is so weird. Like, why would God allow me to be a little schemer like this? If I meant well, all I did was sit there until I thought she would be convinced I thought about it. That's really it. I was I was already like thinking this is nonsense, but I wasn't prepared to take charge of my life. I didn't know what that meant. I thought if they said, well, God is good, I thought, well, if God is good and about goodness and love, then I hate God and love the devil. I really thought that when I was 5. Proud of myself for it. Not that it's like cool or anything, because it's all nonsense. None of it's real. But how could, suppose, like, you couldn't give a person a better sort of running start into Christianity, and it still didn't take. Years and years went by, blah, blah, stupid crap. And by high school, I just wanted to keep to myself, didn't want to deal with anybody. And so religion was like the excuse for me to do that. Because I thought, well, you know, God sort of picks everything, and they acted like, you know, with God, it's like you find, although I wasn't even certain I wanted to be with any woman at that point again, because I was like, well, if marriage is good, if love is good, then I don't want anything to do with it. But it was my excuse to say, like, well, you know, God will, like, it's just weird, the story, like, how much you don't live when you're deeply enmeshed in a whole system, a religious system that's meant to make you know your place and not go outside those boundaries. You know, we were taught all the things like abortion is totally unacceptable, and I hate that but I can't blame myself, I was ignorant, that I ever believed that, and yet I could never really support it. All the homophobic, transphobic teachings, I mean, even then it was funny, because like I never really had anything against, you know, gay people or transgender people. I thought, well, that's what I'm supposed to think. So I had no justification for it. I said, well, God doesn't want it, but I was never like a fanatic about it, because I was like, well, apparently that's what I'm supposed to. Hey, look, it's a sign. Can you see that? I can't see. Shit. Oh, it's so bright. Pentagram. Our infernal father in hell smiles beneath us. Anyways, you can already see it's the workings of a bunch of nonsense. Total nonsense. I believe that basically pleasure was wrong. We were supposed to feel pain. So, you know, that's why they teach you're supposed to fast. Every other goddamn day is a day for God. You're supposed to fast, you're supposed to go to church, you're supposed to sacrifice. So when do you actually live your life? You've got to be a hypocrite to be married and at least be Catholic. Because it's like, well, so you're just living your own life, right? You're just doing your thing. Of course, it's like cultish and bizarre that like sex is wrong here. That's another view I had that was made me feel ashamed of my body and who I was. That sex is wrong, pleasure is wrong. So it's wrong here, up to your life, this point, this point, this point, this point. When you get married, oh, then it's okay. So how do you reconcile that in your head, that this thing is wrong all your life, something that's totally natural, for the lack of a better word, is what is natural? And yet, at this point, oh, this thing that was totally evil and shameful and will send you to hell to suffer for not even 1 billion years. That won't even be the beginning of your suffering. Not even 100 billion years will be the beginning of your suffering, but all eternity. And then it's okay at this point. But how do you know it's not really sinful? How do you know in your mind you're not really doing it lustfully? By the way, how much counts as one sin? Is it, if you masturbate once, is that just one sin? But you're making a bunch of choices at every moment to keep masturbating. So is it like billions and billions of sins when you're going through split-second decisions every single moment to continue with it? Why don't they say that? Oh, they're not really Christian. They don't really believe it. They're just these cafeteria Catholics. Just picking and choosing what they like. Hypocrites. So a lot of this just noise, confusion, and partly as a result of that and some other stuff, I just wasted my high school life, kept to myself, didn't want to deal with anybody, didn't want what I considered any trouble, didn't know how to handle dealing with people, had no clue, didn't really feel anything good except for movies. Thank goodness, movies have been on my life. Those made me an atheist. I don't know if I'll have time to get into all that, but realizing, my senses belong to me, and that movies, like, it's just, they're more real in a way than a lot of things. Like, and it's like, if movies are any good at all, well, clearly that to me was like, it was not any rational point that made me leave Christianity. That came later. It was the fact that this was almost like this, totally anti-Christian thing to arouse your senses. It was satanic in a way. Like, again, it's a nonsense term. Like, it's made up as part of, like, every religion has their devil. There's nothing superstitious about it, whatever. Blackbird agrees with me. What is down there? Oh, driving range. Or a golf course, or whatever. Wow. What a view. But it put me in just this nonsense world where life kind of stopped, because I was like, well, I know everything I need to know. I figured it out. I guess I believe in God. I thought I did. I was always secretly an atheist. I remember junior year of high school just thinking in my mind how good it would feel to just admit I was an atheist. And I did that in my mind for a second. I got so scared I was going to hell for that. Or that I would be trapped being an atheist. Imagine me being scared of that. I wanted to bring up some other point. I can't remember now. Oh yeah, and when I was in 5th grade too, even then, I would think, well, if suffering and misery and pain is the point of all this Christianity, how do you know that, Buddhists or Hindus aren't really like onto the right religion? Because in my mind there was a question of, well, how can you firmly believe in something if it's not true? So obviously there's a lot of people, I would watch documentaries or whatever footage of, Buddhist monks and stuff, and I'm like, man, they go through suffering, like the isolation, the bleakness, and there was also the element to me of, like, it's a different language, so there's a loneliness in that I could not communicate with any of them. But, like, excuse me, I would wonder that. I would even ask in class. I remember I had a nun who was a teacher and asked, well, what about reincarnation? I heard about that, it's one mind going into a different container. Because I used to wonder, like, am I the reincarnation of Jesus? Because I knew I had a strong sense of decency. And she was just like, no. And I was like, that's weirdly dismissive. 10 years old. Guess we weren't supposed to think too hard about that. And I always loved, especially like the Buddhist art and stuff. I fucking hate to this day Christian art. It's so gross, disgusting, sad, dreary, lonely. I love that Buddha, the deep reds and browns and oranges. That stuff is beautiful to me. And I remember even being 18, going to a Vietnamese friend's house and seeing Buddhists, and this is when I was in serious turmoil, having religious delusions, which I'll get to in a minute. The story jumps around a lot. Thinking, oh no, like, I'm automatically worshiping that thing. I feel this sort of lust, this power driving through me, this desire for it, because I admired it. This is the fucked up, I wonder what that brown stuff was I stepped over. Fucked up way that Christianity tries to get you to go against all your impulses, all your instincts, if you take it seriously. If you don't, I think that's the only way you can keep your sanity as a Christian. Just don't give a fuck. And, oh yeah, it's too bad for you. It works great for me. The Lord smiled upon me. My grandmother's cancer went into remission. I found my car keys. It saved my life. Saved my life? This one girl told me that. When another girl asked me, her friend asked me, do I believe in God? I refused to say anything because I just really didn't want this other person to hear my answer. She was really annoying. And I would have said yes, but I didn't like this other girl staring at me over it. So I didn't say anything and whatever. And then the other one, really fucking annoying one, said like, God, like my faith saved my life. And it's so funny how I wanted to react against that, like, because even then my belief was that you don't believe because it brings about good consequences. Because there are plenty of people who have lost their lives because of it, suffer miserably, go through hell before they're even dead. And so I thought, well, your reasons are nonsense, because obviously life is supposed to be terrible, and that's just God. But even then, I knew to react against that. And it was actually shortly after that I went into deep turmoil. So, at 17, I went through a really tough time. It was very traumatic. And after a month of I was in just the lowest point in my life, really. I don't even think about this ever. Crying every day, hours and hours, to the point where I was getting so sick. And I thought, well, I need something to help my life. I thought, okay, I'll just throw myself into the church, take it seriously. Did that. Second time at church, I got a horrible panic attack. Felt like a knife in my head, just shearing me out of my body, like a fillet. What the hell is up here? Anyways, we might go into a part 2 for this video. I don't want it to cut off. It cuts off at like 33 minutes. But anyways, I felt like I was being ripped out of my body, like I was in a cold sweat. I felt like my skin was turning gray. I felt God was ripping me out of my body to be with him. Oh, this life, you don't need this, Angelo. No. You need to be with me. I immediately understood that. And in short, I've talked about this, but short story version of what happened the next 18 months, pure terror. Just when I thought, okay, I'd finally learned, okay, I need to accept other people. I can't just be all secluded to myself. I need to try and learn how to feel good about anything. I'd never learned about mental health or anything like that. So another little problem with Christian schools, trying to teach their it's a God problem. If you don't have enough God in your life, then you have mental illness. Demons cause all that stuff. Nonsense. But I had no idea about mental health treatment. I went through pure terror for 18 months. This feeling that I was being ripped out of my body would not relent. I tried to escape it, avoid it. Started getting sort of like counseling sessions from a teacher, religious fanatic, who for her, oh, God is great, God is everything, so wonderful. And she wasn't even Catholic, by the way. So she rejected that, but that was the church that was tearing me apart. Their teachings in my mind. So I was like, well, how can you really be devout if you have the wrong religion? Again, another thing just tearing into my mind. There's a water fountain here, but I got water. I might as well drink the water. Save my bottle. Ah. Alright. So, I went through absolute terror. And her solution? I just pray the problem away. Just need to pray. Read about the saints. Well, do you think I got better? No, I got way worse. To where it was cripplingly hard to function. I was thinking, I didn't have a life at that point. I was like, well, my life is over. I'm going to be torn apart. Never learned how to relate to another person. That's it. I had my little run. Every day was searingly painful. Not being able to feel any emotions of my own. Because it was like the worst drug trip. Only those got worse in future bouts of illness. Weird delusions, feelings that I was evil. But really, honestly, I feared that I would be in heaven forever because I learned what it felt like to not have any desires, nothing. I could barely bring myself to sleep a lot, to eat food. Didn't tell anyone about this except that teacher and a priest. But it was a nightmare, total nightmare. No escaping, not knowing what life is at 18. Didn't know what it was like to be at 18. Everything horribly painful, and that trauma I went through at 17 still stuck with me for years and years. This panic attack is unraveling itself. So all you Christians, try living through that. See if it's worth it. Lose all your desires. Feel searing pain at every moment. Feel like your eyes can't be trusted anymore because you cannot perceive people properly. By the end of it, I wanted so desperately just to enjoy a quiet moment with private thoughts, but I couldn't. I felt like my mind was split in half, ripped open, and open to all these religious delusions, except I didn't know they were delusions at the time. That's a bad scenario to be in, when you don't know that it's okay to actually take care of yourself. It's okay to actually want to be better. Didn't know that. Funny. 13 years of Christian schools couldn't tell me that. And Greek Orthodox churches couldn't tell me that, huh? Huh. Boy, this God character sure missed a step here and there. Sure made a couple of oopsies. Oh well. As Christians say, my life is so much better. The Lord, things improved for me, my finances. But oh well, some other person gets to go through living hell. And whatever, what are you going to do? Fuck it. It's worth it. You just gave up on God. I said, well, I cannot convey the terror I went through. And let me actually stop this here so we can do a part 2.